Good evening. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman. Tonight, a special 1-year anniversary rewatch of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Along for the ride, Age Boomer as always, and special guest Erik Woods. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm getting over a cold, but Raiders of the Lost Ark makes everything better.
That's right. And how are you, Age Boomer?
I'm sorry, I must have been confused. I thought we were doing the Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold rewatch tonight.
No,
I know Erik. It's got Sharon Stone in it. Come on.
Okay.
I remember seeing, I think, King Solomon's Mine when I was a kid, and I was mad. I was like yelling at the screen, "This is knockoff Indiana Jones. I don't like this." And I was yelling.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I haven't seen it. Did I?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a curiosity, maybe, but you're just wondering why they took the tone that way, right?
Okay.
And maybe it is really literally Raiders of the Lost Ark light, and like Richard Chamberlain is not a leading Indiana Jones hero, and John Rhys Davies a bad guy in this, and it's just so goofy. That's the problem. It's like the basket chase, but like 1,000 times more goofy. Yeah, for the whole movie. But dynamite Goldsmith score. So that if you're going in it just to listen to the music, that would be it. But it's ridiculous. But if you got a Sunday afternoon and you really have nothing to do, then try it. And there's a sequel as well. So it's like
that one is worse.
Yes, it is.
Let's welcome the chat real fast. We've got Melissa Harris and Big Al in the house. How are both of y'all tonight? And Zootopia's in the house. Hello, Zootopia.
Next week, I believe Big Al is going to be doing a Troll rewatch on his channel. So, Troll, ever hear of it? Erik probably has. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the internet trolls?
No, I don't think so, at least. I've seen one of those. I saw the one that everybody attacked that had Julia Louis-Dreyfus in it. That one that you just... So, Erik, I'm kind of curious. When did you first see Indiana Jones? Did you see it in the theaters? Was it a childhood VHS rental? How did you catch it when you originally?
I was sick at home from school on a Monday afternoon, and my mom came to me, and I'm about 7, 8 years old, and they had rented a beta machine and a couple of movies to watch over the weekend, and they still had the movies up until Monday night. So she came to me and she says, "Hey, you want to come downstairs to the basement? I think I have something that might make you feel better. And I think this is a movie you might like." I'm like, "Fine, let's go do this." So yeah, I sat there in the basement with my mom and we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was blown away. And it took me up until I was 40, 5 years ago, to finally see it on the big screen. But the best way to see it for the first time on the big screen is with a live symphony orchestra.
Oh,
so I got to go see it on the big screen for the very first time with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra playing live. And I took my son and we had a blast. And because of that night, and it's my favorite score, my favorite film of all time, but watching it live, I've grown to appreciate it even more. And I noticed certain things in the music that I never heard before, especially in the middle sequences with all that atonality. John Williams was really doing some complex stuff during the whole Well of the Soul sequence. And it's an incredible music that really tests him as a modern composer. So yeah, that's my experience with Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I've seen it hundreds of times. But yeah, my first time on the big screen, I'll do it with live musicians, please.
Yeah, how does that work? Do they just take the music out of the movie and it's the live musicians that are playing it?
Yeah.
And does it sync up with the dialogue okay? Does it overpower the dialogue or anything? Okay.
Oh, yes, it does. Yeah. So the music is not it's not mic'd, it's not anything. It's just you hear
Okay.
the music in the hall, but you're also hearing dialogue and sound effects. But the dialogue and sound effects are a little bit lower in the mix. So
I see.
there are portions where the music is really taking over, and it doesn't bother me. I would rather just watch it without it.
Right.
But yeah, from start to finish, there's a conductor there. He has the screen in front of him with what are they called? Streamers and punches. So he knows how to sync while he's conducting, because they're not playing to click. They're actually doing it the way they did it in the old school days. So every time you see like a streamer come across and then the punch, that's a cue for the conductor to hit a certain sync point with the music and make sure that he's always on pace. And they played it flawlessly. And it's a tough score. And it was pretty amazing.
Cool.
So, Boomer, you've never been to a film with the symphony doing the music before?
I have not. It's a pity. One of my favorite Japanese animated features is an anthology film called Robot Carnival, and apparently that had played somewhere in the country where they actually had a live orchestra for that, but it might have been like electronic music, and I would have, maybe it wasn't live. It was they had someone there. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was an orchestra or somebody there doing music live for it. I would have loved to have seen that, but no, I didn't even know this was even a thing that was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of it with silent pictures, like when silent pictures get like re-released, something stuff like a live orchestra. I didn't know they did it with because I mean, Robot Carnival is kind of there are sound effects. Most of the segments don't even have dialogue in them. It's just like you're watching cartoons and pantomime and stuff. Yeah, but interesting.
I saw the Boston Pops do Psycho a couple Halloweens ago.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
and
that's great.
My local symphony did E.T. a while back, and they did okay. I didn't leave wanting to burn the place down. I can say that, because I was concerned.
Yeah, I saw E.T. live as well, and I was very impressed by that. Seen Empire Strikes Back, and the TSO just knocked it out of the park with that one. They played John Williams really, really well. The first time I ever saw a John Williams concert with the TSO.
Not everybody can. So that's
no,
good.
and they can't. And so that's where I know that my local symphony has some issues with John Williams music. No, that's not true. They have issues with like simpler music, which is really weird, but John Williams, they can knock out of the park. But I saw my first John Williams themed concert with Erik as a guest conductor, and it was amazing. And I mean, they were going through everything just pitch perfect, all the great solos, all the great action sequences. And but yeah, to do Empire, like I was concerned, like, the amount of effort you have to give for the Battle of Hoth and then into the asteroid field. That's about 25 minutes of straight music. And to hit those high notes with the asteroid field, and after having doing 20 minutes of the Battle of Hoth, they were flawless. It was incredible. So if you get to see it with a really good, like with good musicians and a great symphony orchestra, then I highly recommend you check it out. And they're playing all over the world. So they do stuff like The Matrix, all this. They do 5 Star Wars films now, I think. And that's not true. They do the original trilogy. They do Force Awakens. I don't think they do anything else. But Indiana, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Lord of the Rings was done 20 years ago. So if you ever get a chance to see anything, like I missed Back to the Future because of COVID, the KW Symphony here locally was going to do Back to the Future, and I missed out on that because of COVID. And Sylvester actually wrote new music specifically for that event because his score doesn't start until about 16 minutes into the movie. So he wrote some extra music at the beginning to fill in the gaps. But yeah, anytime you get to see any movie, it doesn't matter what it is, go check it out. It's a very, very unique experience.
I was just thinking it might have been funny if like Huey Lewis and the News were there live for the first part.
That would be hilarious.
We got to do a Back to the Future rewatch at some point.
Oh,
I love.
We still haven't done a Star Wars film. Have you realized that after 1 year we haven't done a Star Wars film?
Well, yeah. The Ewok Adventure I know is on the docket, so. I'm sorry.
I enjoyed that as a child. I will say that.
All right.
Well, let's get started. I know it's a little bit later than normal.
Yeah, I want to get started. Yeah. I'm rigged at the 0 mark. I don't know where everybody else is, but
Yep.
If do you have the DVD, Eric, or how are you
Yes.
watching this?
Yeah.
Be
Well, I'm
careful,
watching it the rip.
Well, be careful because sometimes there's that THX thing that comes on before the movie.
No, I get right into the Paramount logo.
Okay, you're right in the Paramount. Okay, got it. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. All right. So whenever you want to do the 3, 2, 1, Daniel.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, play.
3 seconds later.
You know what I never noticed? I'm going to say it right now. If anybody watching this, just watch the weird zoom out that they do just after the logo fades here, and then they do this weird zoom out, and then Indy pops up into screen. Watch this. It's really bizarre, and it makes no sense.
I never noticed that before.
Like, what the hell is that? It's pointless.
It might have been an accident. Maybe they thought he was going to hit the camera or something.
Maybe. But but the thing is, it's a zoom out. It's not a camera move. And Spielberg really doesn't do a lot of zoom outs or zooms in his work at this point. So it's really strange to see it right there.
No, if you go to film school, like the one thing they tell you, don't hit the zoom button.
Yeah.
They get mad at it. You want to move the camera. We have you put them on tracks, other things. Don't zoom because it looks it has an artificial feel to it.
It does. I mean, it can be effective. I mean, I think Spielberg used it extremely well in Munich. But then again, he was trying to emulate a certain style of movie. So
plus, at that point, he was already an accomplished filmmaker. So
you can do it.
You know the rules. You can break them.
Yeah.
We have someone new tonight. Chris Wilson, welcome, sir. How are you? How did you find us? I'm curious. And at WSO, I've done music to film for Jurassic Park and the first 3 Harry Potter movies. Washington Symphony? Is that the WSO? I'm thinking that or the Warsaw Symphony, but you'd be up awfully late, my friend.
Yes, he would.
Oh, I know I've told a lot of my stories about this already. By the way, did you get the link I sent you to the Indiana Jones game for the Super Nintendo?
I did.
Did you get a chance to look at it at all?
It's like 2 hours long, my friend.
No, it's all 3 of the movies in one game. But oh man, the things they do. They have this is like the opening level, and the boulder runs at you at the end. But then, like later on, like when the last boss is Belloc near the Ark of the Covenant, you have to keep hitting him and the ghost. And I'm like, I think you guys took this the wrong way.
Yeah,
it's like he's not the boss of this movie. Okay. The boss is Indy trying to keep his eyes shut and not look at what's around him. You know, it's.
I did have the Atari 2600 game back in the day.
Lord, oh man!
I never could figure out how to play it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now that's Alfred Molina, right?
Dr. Octopus himself. Yes,
he's a great actor. He would show up on a lot of LA Theater Works productions.
And Eric, like last year when Boomer and I did this, I was saying musically at this point in the film, you really kind of don't know if Indiana Jones is the hero or not because the music is kind of ominous.
I'm thinking it might be the other guy with the hat. Yeah, it's
like especially with his reveal, right? When he's revealed, you would expect to hear the theme, and you don't hear it, and it's just this big, bold kind of motif that you never hear again. But you know he's serious.
Yeah, he's definitely serious.
Like this reveal's incredible. But listen to those low horns. And that's what I like about this movie and Temple of Doom. Definitely takes the subject matter very seriously, but also has a real edge to the movies, which I think was lost on Last Crusade, but that's still great. And especially on Crystal Skull, where it just seemed like a parody of these movies.
Yeah.
So, but I think that this one, I mean, you watch this opening sequence and you can see it as a great adventure, but it's like also, holy smokes, we're taking this seriously.
Yeah, like Last Crusade's a little more fanciful, I think, but I still enjoy it. But it's because maybe it's because they don't repeat the same type of thing for each movie. But
right.
Oh, I remember seeing this as a kid. I got to tell you, I probably mentioned this on the last time we did this stream, but I was a little chicken. Okay, I saw that last scene with the Ark of the Covenant being open, and I like hid my eyes after the guy's face melts off. It's like, look at this though. The musical effects in this part,
It's and it's all live. That's the cool thing about it. All these weird effects. There's no synthesizers.
Yeah. It's interesting what they could do with just real instruments, and you think, oh, is that no? It's not electronic. It's real. Yeah.
So, Erik, spiders, yay or nay?
Oh, I'm definitely afraid of them.
Okay.
But I will, if I see a house spider, I will take it and put it outside. I won't stomp on them. They do me a favor. They take care of the mosquitoes and the bugs. Right. And so, but anything, like if you put me in a box with a bunch of tarantulas, I'd lose it.
So we can put you down for the arachnophobia rewatch?
Hey, you know what? That movie never really freaked me out. That's the funny thing. It never really did. This Raiders freaked me out when I saw the spiders. But yeah, arachnophobia was that was a silly movie too. But it never really creeped me out, except for I think the spider. Well, I've only seen it once, and there's a point where they all come crawling out of like the toilet and the sinks and the bathroom and everything.
Yeah, the stink is like, oh no.
Yeah, so a creepy crawly's doing that stuff. Yeah, that's enough for me.
I'm watching this as a kid. I'm thinking that thing is going to come down.
Yeah.
Like, what's one of those common dreams? It's like one of the most common dreams. You fall in a hole and you keep falling, right? That's a common nightmare, and I've had that.
Yeah, that's
before.
right.
It's just like, for me, I'm not a huge spider fan, but I don't know if I'd be as terrified. But bees and wasps, those are the things that freak me out. Like the stuff in Temple of Doom with the hole that Willie has to reach her hand into. That'd be more my That would freak me out even probably more than the spiders. Not that I love spiders either, but
Sir Ian brings up the good point that this and Temple of Doom had slightly more serious and brutal edge to them.
Mm.
Do you think Steven Spielberg just felt burned from Temple of Doom?
He got burned out? Sorry?
Like he just got burned by critics and he felt he needed to tone everything down.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was... and I think we talked about this maybe in the chat when you were watching it. It's a really odd time for both Lucas and Spielberg, right? Their relationships I think Lucas has gone through a divorce and Spielberg's marriage is on the rocks. So they're just in a really, really bad spot. But the problem was, yes, the critics and the fans didn't necessarily like the movie. So they went back to that more Raiders tone for Last Crusade, and losing a bit of that edge to make it a little bit more family friendly, because the PG-13 rating on Temple of Doom, I mean, they almost got an R, with all the blood and guts and everything like that. So but I mean, this Raiders is just as bad.
Yeah, I mean, people melt.
Here we go. And part of me kept wondering, did he just measure the sand wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I like about it. He's a flawed hero. He's not perfect. He got through all this no problem. And then it's like, oh my God. I love his look.
Well,
I screwed up.
The chat in Temple of Doom, people are in our chat, I think Leia Plus Size and Zatopia were mentioning that I think it was even Zatopia mentioning that Indiana Jones in that movie is not even the hero he is in this movie because it takes place before, and he's almost out for, I don't want to say out for himself, but he's out for fortune and glory. But then he hears the screams of the children, and that's sort of what turns him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so mad as a kid when I saw that. I'm like, that's really rotten. You didn't uphold your end of the bargain. You learn a lot of lessons, in these movies.
Yeah.
It's
I just like anytime Indy's in trouble, you really don't know whether he's going to make it. And that's what I loved about this movie. He really had to put some effort into getting out of the sticky situations that he was in. It was never easy.
No. And I think, what was it? It was they were wanting to kind of make their own James Bond style series, but he's not James Bond. He's
nope. He's something completely different, which is great.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what audiences were thinking when they saw this back then. This must have just blown their minds.
Where is he now? Peru?
Yeah.
Peru.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is like Incan civilization. You always figured they're, these lost, advanced technology we haven't heard of buried somewhere there, or I don't know, or at least look. That was a bad way to go.
Yeah.
The thing is, Belloc's not a very threatening villain, right? I don't find him to be like he. I mean, he's sneaky, but he just doesn't. He doesn't, and that's what I like about him. He also seems like an everyday sleazeball, but I just don't. He's not like your traditional. Like, of course, he's not Mola Ram, and he's not a Nazi. He's just out for his own self-interest. But that's what I find, that they're sort of equals that way, Indy and him. But he's just not your traditional bad guy.
He's not dangerous in that if Indy and him were going to get into a fist fight, we know who would win. Okay.
Yes.
But he can be sneaky, and he doesn't need to he just sends the natives after him. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah. I get the feeling that Belloc came from old European money.
Possibly he came from that and the family lost the fortune. Okay. Like, I don't know what he's exactly after. I often felt that when they did that Young Indiana Jones Chronicles show, they should have had Belloc on it. I don't know if they did, but they should have.
They
did. Scheduled for
they
the
did.
third season.
No, he was. No, yeah, but they had Paul Freeman did show up as a character, but not Belloc.
Oh, because it would have been interesting if like a younger version of Belloc shows up and we see how the rivalry started.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen that, but because. Now I take it he's an archaeologist like Indiana Jones, trying to find. But I don't know what he does with the stuff once he gets it. Does he
Sell it?
Sell it? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know.
Because Indy says to Marcus, there's only one place he can sell them. I just need some money. I can go buy it for you. Hello, Andrew. How are you? And we finally hear the Indiana Jones theme.
Yep.
Like 12
and
minutes.
He's not doing anything overly heroic. He's just running away.
Yeah, that's true.
And the character building in this is so good. It's so good. And that's why the snake joke works so well. It pays off.
Well, notice a little while ago, we see him knocking the tarantulas off, no problem, right?
Yeah.
But everyone's got something they're afraid of.
And they redid Jock's voice for the re-release, the 4K re-release. It's I don't know whether it's the ADR or whether it was actually the live audio. I don't think it was live audio.
Huh.
Because that would have been really windy. But there's an alternate voice and an alternate take, and it's really flat. It doesn't have that kind of charisma that this Jacques sounds like. I always wondered what was written on the girl's eyes, because seeing it on VHS, you couldn't really make out the details. So I had no idea what the heck she had on her eyes until much, much later. And there was a whole subplot with an affair with a student that they were going to do, and they cut that out of the movie. Thank goodness.
Probably for the best, yeah.
Because he meets up with somebody right after, just before they go to the gym or the auditorium to have a chat with the government officials. But I always wondered, there's a little detail in here where the guy puts the apple on the desk. I wonder how many times they did that to make it either stay on the desk or have it roll off the desk. I'm not sure what was supposed to happen, but you can just see Marcus almost expecting it to roll off the desk. Watch this guy put the apple down. and then it's like, there it is.
I have a question. What's with the putting the apple on the desk? Is that like to get a better grade? What?
Maybe I don't know the significance of that.
I know in the old days that was a thing you would do. Like if you see the movie Pinocchio, Geppetto gives Pinocchio here's an apple for your teacher. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a green apple. I don't like them.
No, they. What are they best for? Salads. That's about it.
Just sneeze real loud. Oh, Daniel, you there?
Yeah. So here, just before they cut, and then they go to the. What is this? Like an auditorium where he was supposed to meet with a student, someone who he had an affair with.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been good to keep in this cut.
Sorry, dogs want to bark, and I'm like, I'm not playing these games tonight, so I moved to the garage.
You a timestamp?
No, it's still going.
Okay. So
Andrew wants to know if anyone else can play Indiana Jones. I say River Phoenix and Sean Patrick Flannery can.
No, I have to tell you, no, I think this is Harrison Ford's role. I don't want to see a recast.
No. My idea is for Disney Plus to do an animated series, whether it's computer generated or traditional cell animation. But I would like further adventures of Indiana Jones, but you can do it as an animated series. Or another cool thing, though, is if everybody wants to play Indiana Jones, then fine. Do the further adventures of Indiana Jones and just have a new Indiana Jones each and every week and go on a different adventure and see what sticks.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
Good idea.
I think I had mentioned this on one of the previous chats that they should do an animated Indiana Jones series.
Yeah. Someone did a proof of concept a while ago. It was like a 90-second intro to a series that didn't exist, and it's really good. And I'd like to see that, but I think that's the best place for it. I mean, nobody can play. This isn't like James Bond. It really isn't. There's nobody that has the charisma of Harrison Ford.
There's still people that have argued Connery's still the best. They get angry. I disagree.
Sure.
I have like some of the other Bonds, but yeah, this is Harrison Ford. I had an idea, of course. I don't know. I keep touting this idea, and I don't think it gets much traction, so maybe it was a good idea. But you age up his son from the fourth movie, which I know Daniel has issues with. But, you age him up, and you make him kind of the inheritor, and you get maybe a good leading man to play the adult. What was the son's name again?
Mudd.
You don't want to call him Mudd. Well, I don't know what he's going to call himself, but I was even thinking Hugh Jackman, maybe like a seasoned actor that people like now, but haven't played the son or even the grandson, and don't do this. Don't recast this Indiana Jones. Maybe it would be like a family thing. Okay, yeah, but
I don't mind going. Shorty would be great. Yeah, but I would like to. I like to kind of go back before all of this and just kind of like in between where the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was taking.
Yeah, well, that would be the cartoon series. Yeah,
and just show us, some. But you could totally do. You know why you could do the cartoon series? Because What If is so good, and if they did Indiana Jones in that What If style, I'd be all over it. Because What If is beautiful to look at. Just absolutely beautiful to look at. Marvel's doing something right with that, and I think they could do that with Indiana Jones. But I guess you're gonna have to see how Indy 5 works out. I mean, apparently they are or have recast Shia LaBeouf, and they are bringing back Indy's son, but that's just a rumor.
Oh no.
It just but Indy's like, I don't think he can survive as a live action hero without Harrison Ford.
Yeah, probably. It would be a completely different thing, which is why you'd have to already get an established leading man that was like that you can't even play him have him play Indiana Jones regardless because he's still going to be compared. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess.
It is.
But it's funny you mentioned that. There's a rumor floating out there that they might be doing a What If style series with Star Wars based on some of those alternative Star Wars scripts that were written originally.
That'd be fun.
I've heard that. It's a rumor floating around that Disney might try that, but
I think the What If stories are great. I've always liked them. And I think that's what we all do as fans, right? You're like, what if this had happened? Or and it's true. And I think that's a great place to take the characters and have some fun with them without it being canon. You just do whatever you want. See what happens. The exposition in this scene, the writing in this scene is so good. Just so good, so tight. Tells you everything you need. But they're just so it's so well acted, so well shot too.
Well, think to the audience he's speaking to too. Like, I didn't go. I went to Sunday school, or he said something like some comment like that. And people that there's a reference here, like people, or they saw the Ten Commandments. They know the story of Moses and all that, and they're wondering, well, does this thing actually exist? Like, you forget about that. What happened to the Ark of the Covenant?
So when Indiana Jones opens the door, up until the point that he throws the revolver into his bag, this is one of the greatest oneers of all time. The camera movements, there are no cuts. It's brilliant.
Who's the actor playing Marcus? I've seen him in stuff too.
Denholm Elliott.
A lot of British productions from like the 70s. He shows up in. I was actually happy they brought him back for Last Crusade. That was a nice touch that we got to see more of him.
Now, Erik, do you think they should have introduced Marion's theme when he starts talking about Marion?
I don't mind that. But they do.
I think that's okay. I think it's a music cue. It's a reference point.
Because there's the romance there, right? John Williams is telling you something that you don't know, and it's all it's kind of subtext. But he also throws in the Lost Ark theme here, and it's so good.
Marcus is basically saying, I just be careful because these stories might actually be true. Even though he's a learned man, he's thinking, this is we've not gone after something like this. And he's saying superstitious hocus pocus. This does conflict a little bit with Temple of Doom because you've already seen the Boogeyman.
That's right. So did they know? Sorry, I didn't get a chance to hear that. Did they? There was no music in that sequence. Is that right?
Was that talking about?
Yeah, when you talk about Mary and everything like that, it doesn't. I don't think I don't remember if there's a musical cue. There's no music.
There is, because I know that Marcus. I think the Ark theme stirs on a little bit with.
I can't remember right
saying, now. There's because I got mine muted too, but I'm pretty sure there was like an Ark cue, like when and
that's Dennis Muren in the glasses.
Goes into the fanfare. Oh, that's the
Nazi stooge in that plane. Yeah.
Yes. It's funny. We were rewatching on Al's channel. We were watching Sword of the Valiant, and I didn't realize he was in that as well until I got that Blu-ray. I mean, it's kind of it's an 80s sword and sorcery flick, and you can do the math there. But I still enjoy it, and he plays one of the bad guys in that, and he's a disgusting bad guy in that, but he looks different in that movie. But then I could tell the lips. Oh, that's him. He's from Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh. And he terrified me as a child. When you talk about movie villains that kind of, etch themselves on your brain, it's him. He enjoys torture. That's what's disturbing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is another great one shot, beautiful camera movements, great acting. Another just perfect setup to Marion. It's just. And they don't say a word. You know who she is right away.
What's her archetype? The tomboy? I'm thinking. Don't get me wrong; she's very feminine, very pretty, but
Yeah.
she has that.
She's a
tomboy
very
persona, yeah.
different, leading lady, and that's what I think everybody really liked about her. I mean, she still is sort of the damsel in distress, but she definitely she can take care of herself if she needs to.
Because we're seeing a scene, and what is she doing? This is this big tough guy. She's drinking him under the table. Now
Yeah.
you have to sell this,
Yes.
okay? This guy
And of
might
course,
even
it's
be. Go
perfect foreshadowing to her meeting with Belloc later in the movie.
Yeah.
Who she can't drink under the table because his family owns a winery.
That's right. That's right. It's interesting that this comment from Chris, because in this movie, Marcus is knowledgeable. He's not an adventurer, you're right, but they completely changed him for Last Crusade, and I always hated that. Always. That he was a bumbling buffoon. Get lost in his own museum. He seems like he's a smart, learned man in Raiders, and he just turns out to be comic relief in Last Crusade, and I never liked that.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's almost like he's not the guy you send, but I mean, there are at least those scenes when he's in the car talking to him, saying you're messing with powers you can't possibly understand. I mean, you do get a little bit of the Marcus back in those parts, but yeah, I get it. But
yeah,
his dad was a bit buffoonish too, though.
Sorry, who?
Henry Jones.
Indiana's dad was a bit buffoonish in the film.
Yeah, but he was also a fish out of water, right? He was definitely a fish out of water. I didn't figure Marcus to be that, because I think he just mentions, like, if he was younger, he would go after the Ark. Or
good point.
If he was young, I think that's what he said. I can't recall, but I know that he must have done something similar, go on adventures, but not like the way Indy does. But I just found that, yeah, they played him for jokes, and then they really disrespected him in Crystal Skull as well.
Oh yeah,
what happened in Crystal Skull? Because I haven't seen it.
Of course you haven't.
They're being chased. So you haven't seen Crystal Skull at all?
No.
Good.
I've seen bits and pieces on the YouTube, but I've never sat down and watched.
Well, Marcus has a statue outside of the university, and so during the chase with the Russians crash into the statue.
You can stop right now. Stop. I don't want to hear it. That's okay. I can see where you're going.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
What was I going to say though? Yeah, the funny thing about trilogies back then, even with the Star Wars movies, we think they're great now, but there are inconsistencies between them, like what you're saying about Marcus, or even Indy, because if Temple of Doom takes place before this, you've seen the paranormal already. Okay, you saw the chakra shows, you saw the Balaram rip a guy still being hard out of his chest and seal it back up. You've seen that there's stuff out there that you can't explain, okay, with rational things. So.
Yeah, and it just seems though that every film, anytime anybody comes up to him with like, "Hey, we might be able to find the Holy Grail or these mythical crystal skulls or this and that," he doesn't believe right away. He's always very passive about it, right? It's like, "Oh, those things don't exist." Like with the Holy Grail, when he goes back to his father's house after it's been ransacked, and he finds the diary, opens the package that he had in his pocket, and then he's looking at the paintings in his room. He goes to Marcus and he says, "Marcus, I mean, can you believe, I mean, is the Holy Grail, does it really exist?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You open the Ark." You saw somebody get their heart ripped out and magical stones and all that, and yet he's still very passive with believing that there's mystical elements or things of this sort that are actually around in his world. So
she hangs the medallion up. She's had it.
Yeah.
So, Eric, we have music right now, but we're about to lose it when Indiana comes in, and the entire gunfight is not scored at all.
Correct.
But
do you think somewhere there's a piece of music that goes with this scene?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
I think that the gunfight is perfect because of the sound effects, though. I mean, we
That's
talk
it.
They are good.
music.
Yeah.
You're waiting to hear the bullets whizzing, the fire crackling. I actually think that's an example of somewhere place where I don't think I would have wanted music. Yeah, I think it's perfect as is. Yeah.
Like nowadays, it would be scored 100%. But I was going to mention that when Indy's escaping from the natives there. If you think about the way John Williams writes now, it probably would have been 90 players just going absolutely crazy up until Indiana Jones jumps in the water. But he plays it with pizzicato strings and light percussion. It's all very creepy crawly still. It's an exciting scene with him running away, but it's not overly busy. The only time you really hear a traditional instrument do anything is there's a blare of a French horn when there's a giant cut to a wide shot of Indy running away from everybody. But I think there's an interesting buildup with the music during that whole opening sequence that works its way into Indy's theme. But I mean, if it was today, I think those scenes would be overscored. And if it was today, this whole gunfight would have been scored. I like the symphony of gunshots, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's just brilliant.
Well,
and I just like how. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You just like how.
I also like the way, Williams is kind of playing with every little thing that happens here, right? When he whips the iron out of his hand, right? He just listen to what the orchestra does when the fire starts. Bum bum ba-da-da-da, right? He's just playing around. And now guns.
Boom. And I think the sound of Tommy guns.
Well, I mean, Indy's gun here is like 3 different rifles. And it's just so awesome, so unique. Everything about this movie, Ben Burtt's a genius.
This was Ben Burt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He crafted all the new punches like you'd never heard before. All the gunshots, the explosions.
Wow.
All
okay.
unique to like Lucasfilm.
Oh, look at the level of violence of this. This is something that I couldn't stand about Crystal Skull, was how they toned down the violence. I was a kid seeing this, and I liked it.
You turned out okay.
Okay. I don't like these bad guys. He's bad because like she's even willing to give it up, and he's still gonna mess her face up. I mean, you hate this guy. You hate these guys. Okay.
Yep.
It's
when you think about it, they probably know Marion firsthand.
Who?
the guys he hired.
Yeah, they're probably local
I don't know.
dudes.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, what is that? Is there like another bar where you hire all the bad guys at? I mean,
every town's got one.
I think these could be like, there's some local guys for sure, but Indy had to lead them to Marion. And that's the thing, like the whole argument that Indy is insignificant in his own movie. And I'm like, I call BS on that. There's no way they find Marion without Indy. Because if that was the case, they would have already had the real medallion months ago.
No, plus he discovers the real location of the Ark.
Well, and that's it, yeah. And it's because of the medallion and what was said on the other side of the medallion about cutting down the stake. Oh, these punches here, so awesome. Oh, the impact, unbelievable.
Why was he waiting around? I would have shoved it this right away.
Yeah.
Blood pouring out of his boom. Okay.
Pat Roach was in this scene too?
Yeah, he's the guy he threw he just punched in the face a couple of times. There's 2 guys that have multiple roles in this movie. So the eye patch is the same guy that dies in the opening sequence. It has all the little needles in his back. Mm-hmm. Tries to shoot Indiana Jones. He's the eye patch with the monkey.
Huh.
So Pat Roach was the guy who, Indy was just fighting with before Marion shot that dude.
Christine brings up a good point. Indy changes his gun through the gunfight. He has a revolver and he's got a Browning high powered. Yeah.
But it's funny. You're talking about, the level of violence in this. I mean, Indy doesn't shoot once in Crystal Skull.
It's so annoying. Don't. Yeah.
He just kills like one person in that movie, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, and he blows the dart back into
Blows the dart back in the guy's
I
mouth,
guess
yeah.
the
Which makes no
trousers mouth
sense
or something.
either, right? It makes no sense.
It's stupid. You had monkeys and Shia LaBeouf fencing with what's her name?
Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett on moving cars. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I used to have action figures for Raiders of the Lost Ark. I had Marion with the monk. I had the gentleman who got his hand messed up, and when you lifted up his hand in the action figure, it was
His name is Toad. Toad.
Yeah,
Toad.
Toad.
I had Toad. I used to have all these. I used to have, and Indiana Jones was the hardest to find because I'm sure they made the same amount of every action figure. What's every kid going to want to buy first? Indiana Jones. So, of course, I think I found him finally in like a KB, like a long time later. Like I found one Indiana Jones, and I was very happy. And,
yeah, I don't have any Indiana Jones toys.
They weren't the best toys. I got to be blunt with you. They weren't like the Star Wars toys. I know they were trying to sort of sell them like that, but they had like the Well of the Souls set. They had like the truck, for the truck scene, later on.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they were okay. And it's funny if you look at the big the covering for the Ark of the Covenant. When you look at the toe, you have like the Egyptian hieroglyphics on the one side. On the other side, it's like R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah.
It's like a little Star Wars reference. It's funny.
Well, they are inscribed in the Well of Souls. You can see R2.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and C3PO.
That's from the movie. Okay.
It's just like OBC30 on the Jacques plane.
Oh yeah, there was also I think it was the Obi-Wan Club.
Club Obi-Wan. Yep.
Club Obi-Wan in Temple of Doom and all that. Just see, there are all these warnings. Don't go. It is not of this earth. Sala knows. He's from the area. Don't go looking there. Okay. It's like
yeah. Like a solace.
But I guess the idea is you want to get it before the German socialist group,
right?
Okay, it's like, there goes the. I think Marion came with a little figure of the monkey as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Did y'all see that just a couple days ago? A carded Indiana Jones Raiders Lost Ark figure on eBay, $1,700. If only I had bid $2 more.
What?
I'm joking. Calm down. I'm joking. I already have one. I didn't need to place a bid.
Of course. The problem is that there's only so much you could do with Indiana Jones figures. I mean, there's some things you could do. It would have been interesting if they had done a line where he's on original adventures, and then you could do play sets based on that. Like I don't think they even had any action play sets based on the stuff in Peru from the beginning of the movie. I don't think that, to my memory, I never saw anything like that. Oh yeah, the cart. I had the cart, the one that she's next to. I had that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it came with a little plastic fruit.
Yes.
Table.
That's so neat.
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie, even though I could never watch the very end after the first time, and eventually I got up the stones to watch it all the way through. Maybe that's why I like horror movies. I was trying to get over my childhood fears, so now I watch anything. But it's like oh.
And Eric, do you think this should have been more dramatically scored, or are you happy with the upbeatness of the music?
I think as a kid, I was like, what is happening? But I do like the fun of it because it does transition into something more serious. So you can have a little bit of fun with this because it is. But like once you get to the swordsman, it's some pretty serious music. And then, of course, when he's shooting up the guys on the truck. But I like how they kind of play up the fun of this. It's goofy, but it's not overly goofy for some reason.
No.
but again, it's totally unique. If you're scoring it again today, it'll be just kind of derivative action music. It has a personality.
But I like this when he starts laughing with the knife. He's like, okay, you're right. I'm sorry, but it's not. You know what it is? It's a little goofy, but it's still it's plausible. You understand? I can believe everything that's happening here in the context of this movie. It's not
I mean, we've had 2 pretty serious action scenes already.
Yeah.
So lighten up the tone a bit.
Plus, it ends on a kind of a sour note, which we'll see.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. I hate that monkey. I really do. I was mad when I was a kid seeing this. I'm like, get him off of there.
And here's one of the greatest scored moments of Williams' career right here. The French horns. Oh, man. Just listen to them blare away here. It's so Goldsmithian.
I was kind of getting some Wind in the Line vibes from it.
Yeah,
it's funny. I was rewatching the Super Nintendo game footage. I'm like, don't turn that guy into a boss. They didn't. Like when Indiana Jones shows up to him, he just shoots one shot and he dies, and you move on with the rest of the... They didn't go. I thought they were going to be stupid and have him throwing knives at you, and you're shooting him 100 times before he goes down. No, don't do that. But at least they didn't go that far. Okay.
I'll be back in 1 second, gentlemen. The doggies are being rambunctious. I'll be right back.
You're totally engaged while watching the scene.
Oh yeah.
You know, Spielberg and Lucas had to have been versed in classic movies. I mean, this is like something you might see in a classic movie. I mean, but this is a classic movie. So
it's like Benny Hill.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like when it's walking around, but not as.
It's not as goofy, but it's
not as
it's
goofy.
fun.
But yeah.
Because I mean, like Ian says, it's about to get serious right here. Yeah, and Ben Burt said that for this sequence, he's always looking for the perfect explosion, and he still hasn't found it yet. But this is a pretty great sounding explosion.
Oh.
And this is the last shot of principal photography right here. This is the last thing they did.
I have to tell you, and I part of me wonder if I'd seen this when I was older, if I would have thought, but I totally thought she was gone.
Yeah, so did I.
When I was a kid, I'm like, oh no.
So just look on the left-hand side of the screen for the dude in the t-shirt and the jeans.
Oh, why did you do that to me? Now I'm going to see that every time I watch this. Well, they had t-shirts back then, didn't they?
There's about 3 of them that are so I'm like, but it just seems of kind of odd.
Where was the script supervisor?
Continuity, man.
I was paying attention to make sure his hat was folded in the same way, and now this. It's like oh.
You know what's insane? And I'm just about some of the best acting in the entire movie comes up with this conversation with Indy and Belloc. And can you believe Harris, out of all the Academy Award nominations this film got, and it was like Best Picture Director, Harrison Ford didn't get nominated.
Yeah, I know.
It's just crazy. And as much as Belloc does all the talking here, again, it's another great oneer. His camera doesn't cut once he sits down, but Indy's on profile. And you can just see him grinding his teeth, just wanting to get at him. And then his turn to him. You want to talk to God? Well, let's go see him together.
Yes, I love that.
This is a badass scene.
That's a very pulp action hero thing to do. It's like
yeah. But
could you imagine Michael Bay directing this?
Oh, geez. Camera be moving around in 360 up and down, left, right, and center. There'd be explosions outside the door and Transformers running around.
I did like Bay's 13 Hours. I thought that was pretty good.
Hey, he's a great film. I mean, he's a good filmmaker. I mean, the guy's got an incredible
I think
style.
his thing, it needs to be war movies and not anything else, probably. Yeah. But I don't know.
But I mean, the framing of this shot, so good. Like Douglas Slocum, genius. He was sorely missed on number 4 for sure. That Technicolor look and the way that I mean, Spielberg's widescreen photography at this time too was just brilliant.
Yeah. Now you're getting nasty.
This is such a great scene.
Good night, Melissa Harris. Thank you for stopping by. We'll catch you next week.
$10 for, but I take it, bury it sad for 1,000 years, it becomes priceless. That is such a cynical view of archaeology, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah.
DeFleur, yes. I thought he was waiting to take possession.
I'm on some Indiana Jones Facebook group, and there's a guy that tracked down that watch and bought it, and he was showing it to everyone.
Really?
Kidding
and I'm
me.
like, where the hell did you find that?
I like that Bellocs hat, actually.
He's essentially committing suicide at this point.
He's angry.
Right? Because he's going to get shot up. Doesn't matter what happens. He's done. Marion's dead. He's finished. Like he's not even thinking of the Ark. Because with that, what's he going to do? He's going to take on everybody in this bar?
Salah's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to shoot kids. That's what they're thinking. It's like, oh. I have to say, the U.S. government in this, yeah, we'll send you and maybe give you. Did they even set up Salah, or did Indiana Jones just know him? Okay,
he knew him.
So basically, they just said, Indiana Jones, yeah, can you go stop the entire German army? You know, it's like I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, you know,
they have
covert,
no operatives
right?
over here either. I mean, it's like, I mean, to be fair, that makes it better, I think.
I think it was just because, I mean, it was this association with Abner and, of course, his knowledge. I think that's all they were essentially maybe looking for him to do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, takes him further into this. And
oh, I see. Maybe he goes off on his own. And okay.
Yeah.
Sir Ian is the ultimate hardcore Indiana Jones collector. Good job, sir.
Okay. Look at this. This is the bad dates, the poisoner. Whatever that is, it has to be bad. I just don't know what it is, you know.
Like liquid cyanide?
Yeah.
Look at the kid. He's like, I thought I closed that. It's like, you know, it's.
I guess it could be arsenic, couldn't it?
Yeah, maybe. So what is that? Some kind of tea? It's
arsenic?
some dates. It's some arsenic. Yeah. Okay.
I just like how there's, I mean, it's an exposition scene, but it's also incredibly suspenseful once Indy picks up one of the dates.
None of the exposition of this feels forced. Yeah. It's
no, it's perfect. I also like, you know, when he makes the reveal of, you know, like, but now on the other side, you must do this. And the wind blows through the whole room and it's all very, very melodramatic.
And there's a cut scene where the old man tells him there's a warning about not to look upon the power of God.
That's right. Yep.
And I wish they had left that in.
Yeah, so do I. I was very confused by that.
Maybe it was pacing. They didn't like the way it sounded. I don't know. I had the staff of Raw.
Like a 30-second conversation.
But I guess it's just to keep the mystery of the Ark, right? Because I mean, if they tell you to close his eyes, then, you know, why are we going to open it then?
Well, Well, plus I don't know. I would think instinctively maybe he would know something's not.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Well, it certainly says in the Bible not to touch the ark or you will die.
There is also that part with the burning bush where I think Moses doesn't look directly on God. I know
true.
that he has to see him through the fishes of the burn. Bad dates. Yeah, the monkey's dead, and I kind of felt, well, do I feel bad for the monkey? Probably not. Okay,
And then we find out later that his dad's a religious man, so
yeah, so he would have known. He would have known these.
He would have known.
Yeah, he would have known them. I mean. This is a major operation they have going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Belloc just kind of expanded it just to find more stuff for himself.
One thing I don't know.
I could see him doing that.
One thing I mentioned on the last rewatch was that I appreciated the fact that the group I can't mention are the villains. They're not cartoonishly bad. Okay, you know what I'm saying? They're. I mean, I think Spielberg's trying to portray them at least as how they probably were. Okay, or at least somewhat. I mean, it's not like in that one about the Tuskegee Airmen that Lucas produced. The one I saw.
Red Tails.
Red Tails. They were very cartoonishly bad at that. It's like, no, I mean. There's still the enemy in this, but they're not as. Even Belloc isn't cartoonishly bad, I think.
Right.
Actually, maybe that's an issue with Last Crusade now I think about it.
Yeah, they're all goofy. It all turns into just goofiness. There's a real threat here. And that's where tonally Spielberg keeps that throughout this whole movie. Even there are some lighter moments, but the Nazis, holy smokes. Yeah, they're bad guys.
Yes.
And they're going to, they're going to act that way.
We Americans do that. We fought in SC war. So did Canada, right? I mean, this is, this is the world would have been could have very well went a different route. Okay. And we know this. I had this. This was another play set.
I still got this play set.
And you got a little staff of raw.
Can you imagine Williams getting this scene and Spielberg is like, all right, go to town. What do you got? What's the best you can do? And you got Williams at peak Williams. And it's like, yeah, I got this one. And then you get this magic here. It's so well scored. I mean, it's so well shot too. I mean, I can't imagine this scene without any music.
No.
I mean, Spielberg believing that, his long takes and cuts are going to, Williams will handle this. He'll make my movie better.
You have to place it in the right hole at the right time of day when the thrush knocks. And I'm sorry, no, I'm just.
Do you think this is one of the better pieces in the entire film, Erik?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the entire series. This just builds like the release right at the end is so satisfying. It's so good.
I describe it as like the high point musically of the movie.
There's so many. Like Desert Chase, for crying out loud, it's just that's top notch action music right there. There's still a lot of great stuff in the Lost Souls, but I mean, when you're thinking about a standalone set piece, this is one of the best ones for sure.
Yeah.
Thematically, it's just brilliant, and bringing in the voices. I mean, again, this just told you something that, oh my God, we got to take this seriously. Like there's something else happening in this movie that's out of their control. And the mix, I mean, the music is just so perfectly mixed. It's just, you could feel it. Like LSO, Eric Tomlinson. Brilliantly recorded.
Somebody write over that little piece there. Is that German writing? What was that?
That was probably the location that they found with their medallion.
Okay.
How did this not get Best Original Score for 1981?
Well,
What
because
one?
Vangelis wrote a tune.
Oh,
Very,
Chariots of
very
Fire?
popular tune. Yes.
Chariots of Fire? Are you kidding me?
No. Yeah.
No.
Oh,
The,
no.
the nominees are Chariots of Fire, Golden Pond, Ragtime, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Dragon Slayer.
Ragtime was a good movie. I did like that movie, but
And I mean, good on them for the Dragon Slayer one. That is one of the most unique scores you'll ever hear. But Raiders just stands above them all. And yes, I'm biased because it is my favorite score. But I mean, just Chariots of Fire, great theme. It's a great theme, honestly. But the rest of the score,
That's it.
it's and that's the problem. I mean, the music branch did their job. They really did their job by nominating these 5 scores. So I think they did a really good job. But then once you get to the Academy, it's a crapshoot, and especially it's like, hey, what's my favorite movie? Well, I remember that theme from Chariots of Fire, so it must be the best score, and that's the way it works to this day as well.
look at him. He's so happy to see her. It's the one thing I did like about Crystal Skull is they finally got them back together again, even though that's the one thing I can appreciate at least. But yeah.
But even that, they played that relationship all
Stupid,
goofy and stupid, right?
Yes, they did. Yes.
I mean, the reveal of his son is while they're in quicksand.
So
and the
dumb.
most it's so bad.
And then he throws a python from the grab onto it, which is just dumb.
I know.
It's just dumb. I don't want to bring that movie up. We're watching a good movie.
Well, I mean, but then you contrast it to this, and you're
up.
just looking at 2 great actors kicking ass in this scene, and the chemistry between them. It's
oh man, that reminds me of seeing Arnold and Linda Hamilton, that last Terminator, how the acting was so bad on both of them. And it's like that can happen later on where I don't know if this director, they're just not taking it seriously anymore.
Right.
I'll tell you, you're a kid and you're like, oh wait, and I like this cue coming up. This cue.
Where they're digging?
Yeah, it's like when it fades into dark when that happens, you know.
Yeah.
And I like that, you know. Yes.
So what was the first soundtrack you ever bought, Erik?
With my own money was Jurassic Park on cassette. The first CD that was gifted to me was Schindler's List. And but I always had like a collection of tapes of recordings off the TV. So you'd hope that they would play the end credits of the movie and I could record them.
I tried that with Star Trek 2, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. But it was the only, like, I didn't know, like, as a kid, you can get soundtrack albums. I didn't know. I always loved this music. And so, you know, having to revisit the movie, and thank goodness for VHS, that I could, you know, revisit my favorite movies and listen to my favorite scores. But I had no idea I could actually go out and purchase the albums until I was in high school. And that's when I discovered, well, here's this cue, sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, it's
the LSO brass, man.
Yes, love it. Love it.
So yeah, I did an assignment on John Williams in high school, and I went to the library just to look for research material, and then I was looking for books on film music, and then they said, well, you know, there's John Williams and the Boston Pops, and I'm like, oh, what's this? So it was the music area, and you can, you know, take out CDs and cassettes like you could books, and I didn't know that was I didn't. That's when I discovered Eric Kunzel, the Boston Pops recordings. And so when I put in my first Boston Pops recording, which was the By Request album.
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm hearing is every single cue that I ever loved, and I had no idea it was like by one guy. Like, there's Jaws, there's Close Encounters, there's Indiana. Like, it's one guy. He's written my childhood, and that's where I really fell in love with it. And I was like, oh, I can get recordings. So
did the Cowboys just completely blow you away?
Oh, I was just like, what is this? And that's one I hadn't heard before, but I'm like, what in the world is this movie, and what is this score? It's so good.
I have to watch the Cowboys. I have it on DVD.
Yeah, so that was a fantastic discovery. So I found a lot of soundtracks that way and just would tape them, and like I found Aliens and Star Trek 2, and that's when I discovered Horner. Goldsmith came much later, but it was a lot of, like, if I could find a lot of the Williams compilations and the Kunzel compilations. Like, I heard the Great Fantasy Adventure album in class, high school. My teachers said, "Hey, you want to stay after school? I got something you might want to listen to." And they had a really good stereo setup in the music room, and they just blasted that album. El Cid opens the album. I'm like, what is this? That Jurassic Park, Hook, The Abyss, one of the greatest recordings of the Terminator ever, and in all that brilliant Kunzel sound with the Cincinnati Pops. It's like, this is definitely my favorite genre of music. I really fell in love with film music, and I got to play it in high school too. That was the best thing. We got to play a lot of great stuff like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. We played a lot of Star Wars stuff. There was one that was like the best of John Williams. It was like 5 separate pieces all in one piece. So yeah, I always loved it, but I really fell in love with it in high school. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
This was the first soundtrack I ever bought, was Raiders on cassette.
Oh, was it really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It might have been mine too. I remember paying for the cassette when I was a kid with my own money, and I don't know if I had owned a soundtrack before that. My dad had soundtracks. He had the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack on LP.
Oh, nice.
He had the Star Wars soundtrack on LP, which we had lost, but Daniel very, very graciously gifted me the anniversary one for my birthday. But so I have it on LP again. But it was and we had other soundtracks too, but those were the main ones. And the local library would sometimes have soundtracks on album as well, and you can check them out there. Like they had the Empire soundtrack, Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, yeah. I found the Gerhardt recording in the library.
Oh wow,
that was my first Star Wars album. Ian's right. The sound effects were annoying on the Kunzel albums, but I'll tell you, the recording of all the hydraulics and electronics they did for the Terminator. Without it, it's not as powerful. So if you can listen to that recording of the Terminator on the Great Fantasy Adventure album, it's the best rendition of that theme I have ever heard.
Glad it showed up, Chris P. It's so much easier for me to just ship directly because it takes me forever to get to the post office. Age Boomer will testify to that, I am sure.
It's fine. So we got Belloc here. He's trying to lay on that French charm, right?
Oh yeah.
And now back to the action figures. They say that the Marion action figure in the evening gown is the most valuable figure because they made so few of them.
That would make sense.
And it never stands up. She's got like these little bitty tiny heels, and she always falls over.
I don't think I had that one, but I think I knew of it.
I had it back in the day, and God, I wish I still had it.
Oh well,
it ain't cheap to replace it. Oh, and Boomer, you're talking about the Star Wars LP I sent you?
Uh-huh.
They're re-releasing in December the Japanese versions of the original trilogy on LP.
What?
Yes.
What's the difference?
So, the covers. It's all in Japanese.
Okay.
And they're $100 a piece. And I'm like, what? I am not doing this. I am not paying $300 to get Japanese writing on my Star Wars covers.
Okay, I need to tell you, so I have bought it.
And then I hit the pre-order button and I ordered it.
I came close because they're releasing all the Castlevania game soundtracks on a big set. But it's gonna be like $250. I'm like, I don't have that money. I don't know if I'm gonna pay that much, but you know what I did get from Japan, and I imported it, an American soundtrack. The soundtrack, Jimmy Page, Death Wish 2.
Oh wow.
You can only get it from Japan. I don't think it got a domestic release on CD over here. Yeah, it's kind of I told Bergman I wouldn't subject him to Death Wish show. I did make him watch the first one, but we're not going to do the second one. Second one has a very nasty scene in it that was in bad taste.
Just one? Just one? Are you sure?
Well, a couple actually. No, but it's yeah. Actually, though, we do have to get the Dirty Harry at some point, though. Yeah. All right.
In my defense on these Japanese reissues, I looked around the internet. They're $50 if I order them from Japan, but it's $100 shipping per LP. So
and it's the original mix.
Yeah, it's same thing that we got in the States or in Canada, just Japanese covers.
Oh, okay.
Right.
You could see if Amazon Japan is selling them.
I did. It's $100 shipping.
You're kidding me.
No.
They didn't charge me that much for the shipping for my core graphics when I got that in the mail. But
that's what the internet told me. Internet's never lied to me before.
I don't want to be down here. This is a bad place, okay? Wonder why no one's retrieved the Ark, and this is why. In fact, were there dead bodies of other explorers like from the past, maybe lying around it? I don't know.
Well, no, probably not, because it was all
times, it was all buried. True.
Yeah, the town's buried.
Yeah,
or the city's buried.
That's true.
But I like how there's a sense of scale, because all you're seeing are the legs of the giant statues in the background. So you just know this is an enormous temple. Is this where R2 and C-3PO are?
Yeah,
there they are. Yeah. They're to the left of or right of Indy on the pole. Yeah, so the scoring around all of this was sensational to hear live. And I mean, I've heard it on soundtrack before, but just to see the players having to play it, I could see it was incredibly difficult. And the conductor was like really doing a lot of work to try to keep everything in time, because there are a lot of sync points he has to hit. It's not necessarily a lot of action, but there are certain things that he has to hit and make sure that he's in perfect time. And the orchestra has to make sure they're in perfect time as well. But it's just the atonality of it. The modern writing is extraordinary. And I don't think Williams gets enough credit for writing in that style, because he does it so well.
Yeah. There's a line Belloc threw away, which I think I always missed. It's my family label for the wine. So he comes from money. Okay.
And this gag is hilarious because this was in 1941, right? So this is this whole thing with the hanger. Yeah, so Spielberg had already done this joke, but it works so well here.
Okay. You're seeing us like this is a torture device.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I don't like Toth. I don't.
His little smirk and the way he talks, he's perfect here. A great push in here on his face.
Erik, are y'all allowed to travel to America now, or is the border still closed?
I think we can. I know we're accepting Americans. I don't know if I'm pretty sure we can go as long as we have our vaccination passport or our report. So that's all on my phone. So I had to actually use it last night. I went to a brewery to say goodbye to a former work colleague. She's moving out to Montreal, and yeah, first time I had to use my driver's license and my vaccination information to get in. But I think I can cross. I think anybody that is vaccinated can get a cut across the border.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
I don't know if you're into Christmas music, but the Boston Pops Christmas concerts are on again this year.
Oh yeah, I love Christmas music. Yeah.
I've got tickets for the first weekend in December. If you want, I can grab tickets for its family.
I don't know if we're going to get down there this year. It's just I don't even think I have enough vacation time to do that. I would love to, but thanks for the offer. Yeah, it would be great. And I'm not even sure if everybody's vaccinated here, so I got no problem going down. But yeah, we're just it's insane with work, and especially I think it's my wife's year end at that time as well. She's an accountant, so. But I'd love to come down one of these days
for next Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
The family always goes up, spends a couple days in Boston, goes to the show.
Oh my goodness! So that was the Bow of the Souls theme, right? So that's
Bow of the Souls music. So here, Williams is playing with the Ark music at that point, and then it cuts out.
The reason why people think, because Indy keeps getting himself stuck in these predicaments.
Yeah.
I want to make a point, though. He has won against how many in this movie? Think about it, okay?
Yeah.
The odds are actually more even in Temple of Doom, even though there's still more of them. They're fewer than we see in this. I mean, this is a major world power, and they have a lot of influence in this area. The United States is nowhere, okay? I mean, it's... Oh, some bad language there. Yeah, Belloc kind of didn't want that, I think.
Nope.
But he's still trying to woo her. It's like... I'm very rich and I could use a mistress, It's like, that's what he's saying. Oh, look at that. Those are asps, right?
Yeah, they're very dangerous.
Yes. I like how she's on top of him and he's the one who's petrified of the stakes, right?
Yes, yeah. It's brilliant. Everything about this is brilliant.
Do you? Light has gone out. Okay. Because they're going to run out of air. Well, they can't run out of air. How are the snakes surviving if there's no air?
Yeah, there's definitely air in there.
I guess the torches just go out on their own, right? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Look,
yeah, no fuel.
She almost burned his whip. How hard were you trying? Yes, I like the figure.
I really wish this music right here had been on the original soundtrack release.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such an odd motif, and I'm wondering what it represents because you hear it during the opening sequence.
It's just the getting things done music.
Yeah. But it's on the expanded version now.
Yeah, thankfully.
In its complete form without the insertion of the Raiders March, thank goodness. I never really liked I think it's music they took right out of the airplane fight and inserted once he goes over. It's a weird needle drop.
You know, do you know why this didn't get a deluxe release back in 81? Because Star Wars, Superman, Empire all had double LPs that came out.
It's the same thing with well, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you're right, because it's an LSO recording. You think it would be easily a double album.
Different the releaser, or is it the same people that released this?
I don't know. Maybe the interest in soundtracks were declining at that time. Because you're right. Empire got a 2-disc set, but then Return of the Jedi got an awful single disc presentation.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, and E.T. Well, no, E.T. was L.A. So, but that was all completely re-recorded. Fury was a re-recording. Dracula was a single disc, and that's LSO. And was Monsignor LSO? I think it was.
I think so.
And that's a single disc. But yeah, at that point, I don't know. It's just weird to see like Jedi to be the one that gets the single disc release, and
God, they so dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, but Raiders, you're right. It was just like I couldn't imagine listening to that one for the first time and going, well, that's kind of cheap. Although I do remember my experience of hearing about the DCC release in '95 and actually calling them up and saying, are you the guys that are releasing the Indiana Jones soundtrack? Because I never had it. The original was out of print, and then I heard about this new release, and took down my dad's credit card number, and then a week later, it was such an amazing experience. I remember taking it, running up to my room, and just sitting there with the great liner notes by Lucas Kendall. I mean, it's still one of the best produced soundtracks of all time, and just absorbing everything from that release. And I'm so glad that was my first time experiencing the score on its own and not the LP, which I heard years later, and it's so poorly edited. So Frank Marshall is the pilot, one of the producers of the movie.
And here's German, who will be a thuggy later on.
Big scary man. Big scary man. Okay.
And he plays a Nazi for about 2 seconds in
Last
Crusade.
And is it General Keel, General Kale, General, what's his last name? And Willow.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. That's a great bad guy. Is it Kale?
Someone. I hope it's not Kale, because that's what they put on salads. That would just break my heart. General Keel? Someone in the chat. Come on, help us out. Bad guy in Willow.
I need to rewatch Willow.
Oh, I don't remember now. General Kale, maybe? I don't know. General Hale?
It's Kael, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. What if when that guy was calling me down, I would have been like, nope, I'm fine right here. It's like, I'll just punch out the pilot guy and take the plane. You can stay there, okay? But I guess the inference is the guy would have come up after him. I don't know. Throw the dirt in the face.
Do you think this is as good of an action score as the Desert Chase?
What I like about it is it's not overly busy. It really serves the scene perfectly. So it sets up Desert Chase perfectly, because that's the most complex piece. I think it's just, it really it's much more of a playful sequence, like when he hits the fuel line, right? All the woodwinds are trilling around, and it fits with the moment. And there are other action sequences that William composed later on in his career. They're just overly busy. Like some of the lightsaber battles that he did in like Revenge of the Sith or even The Last Jedi were just all kind of nondescript,
Right.
derivative type of action music. And this one really helps tell the story and not going overboard. It's still a huge piece.
Thank you, Chris Wilson, General Kael, Kael, I guess we pronounce it.
I don't know if any of you were over to Disney Hollywood Studios when they would do the Indiana Jones stunt show. They would always kind of do a mock-up of this scene in the stunt show.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. Boom.
Do they still do that, Boomer?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, maybe they still do.
Yeah.
They were doing it for a while. I don't know if they finally got rid of it or not.
No, it's still there.
No, they got rid of something at Universal. That's right. They had a stunt show at Universal. They got rid of. Okay.
That was like the Waterworld thing.
Yeah. Oh. He got messed up.
How awful would that be? I mean,
It wouldn't be good.
I do love the snare drums here.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yeah, and that was a great skill that Eric Tomlinson had. Could record wonderful details, but also make the LSO still sound expansive. And it's the way that his stereo panning was so incredible. Like the percussion was always right in the center of the sound field, and then he would just hard pan everything else off to the left and right, and it just had this enormous sound, but it was just with great clarity as well. And so stuff like Star Wars is a little hot in the recording, but then you get to like the Fury on Senior sounds incredible, Raider sounds incredible. I think Empire is great in its original mix. Jedi, I think, sounds amazing. A lot of those LSO recordings at the time done by Tomlinson, I think, are some of my favorite. Like the re-recording of The Right Stuff in North and South by Bill Conti is one of my favorite albums. And so is James Horner's Brainstorm. It's such an amazing sounding record. So yeah, Tomlinson's a legend, and I always like the sound, always.
Actually, coming up is one of my favorite music cues.
And it's so there's so much clarity in the action cue. I mean, if you're listening to it, there's a point like once the horse starts trotting down the sand towards the truck. I mean, it's very busy at the beginning here, but once you kind of get into the chase itself, you know, Williams is using maybe just a tuba, the brass, and maybe the strings or percussion, but it's not dense. Like there's lots of calls and answers. It's so very, very clear. Just listen to the orchestration, and it's not thick. It's bold. But he kind of like, you know, strips away some of the big symphonic sound.
Ooh, Chris Wilson once started a debate. Slave Children's Crusade or Desert Chase? Which one's better?
Desert Chase is the best, but Temple of Doom has some of the best action music in the whole saga as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's it's a tuba, a snare, horns, and trumpets. That's it. Right? So there's a bum, bum. There's a pulse, and it's just brass playing over top of that. Strings will come in later, along with some woodwinds, but it's all very clear, focused.
Now, on the original soundtrack recording, this piece is missing like 3-4 minutes of music.
It's very odd how many snips there are.
It's
There's about
cut.
3 or 4 weird cuts, and he takes out like 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. It's
Yeah.
destroys the pace of the piece, and I don't know why he would do that. So the only way you can hear the original Desert Chase cue is on the DCC album.
Oh,
So did John Williams, is the original soundtrack releasing, was it rescore just for the release?
No, that's
Or did
all.
they just cut everything out in the
Yeah,
studio?
so that's the actual original recording, and then edited,
Okay.
much like what they did with Star Wars. But like E.T., the original release of E.T. is all completely re-recorded and newly orchestrated and featuring concert works and whatnot. So the first time we heard the original tracks from that was on the 20th anniversary release of E.T.
this is much better than the chase scene in Crystal Skull.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
I don't
Because
know.
it's
I do
actually
like that piece of
happening.
music, though.
There's a real road. There's real cars. They're driving real vehicles.
People can't tell the difference.
No,
Okay,
but-
I guess they can.
And this is just an incredible matte painting and a great effect right here where the Jeep goes over the cliff. Love this. It freaked me out as a kid. What a shitty way to go. And by the way, they did redo that in 3D, an updated CGI version for the BBC's high definition premiere of the film. It's the only change that George Lucas tried on this movie.
Really?
And it looks terrible.
Yeah. Don't get me started on some of the effects in those special editions of Star Wars. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Best part's coming up, guys. He gets shot in the arm.
Yes. And the music changes too.
It dangles like a tooth that's about to come out of your mouth, and then boom, right there.
Yeah. And it's the indie rhythm, right? Dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun. It's brilliant.
he's mad too at this point.
And the pace is slow at the beginning, right? And then just builds and builds and builds.
And up until then, it's been not lighthearted,
No, but it's like
kind of lighthearted. Now
Yeah.
it's like serious shit right now.
That's serious. Yeah, exactly. And the brass writing is very, very Goldsmith. Those rips, right? Into those high notes. I don't know. Does Indy break the fourth wall here? So he gets on the or around the tire, and then he looks, and then he almost looks like he looks back at the camera as they're pushing away. Just watch him. Not
What do you
yet.
think? I never noticed it, but let me
Yeah,
look.
it almost seemed like a bit out of like a Looney Tunes cartoon, right? It's like, oh my god, I'm in trouble.
Well, yeah,
right
but
there, right there.
But I could see someone doing that even when they are
Yeah.
in that situation. You know, I mean, it's
like, oh my god, how do I get out of this?
like you're realizing just how bad it is. Okay, you know,
Yeah.
this is so clever. When I saw this as a kid, oh wow, he's actually going under.
And what's
he
insane
has the whip.
is this is all second unit based on storyboards. I think Frank Marshall directed this. I think it was Frank Marshall.
Huh.
Was he in charge of the B unit?
So kick him out.
Oh, it's brutal. This guy gets just beaten to a pulp.
I think that's the worst way to go.
Unfortunately, Indy's already gone to work on this front part. Oh. Now he gets to have some fun, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And the bee theme gets such a great workout in that piece. And that's what I really, really appreciate. It's you don't hear it a lot, but it goes through the motions in that piece. Really gets highlighted a lot. Oh, you want me to ruin another part for you? I want you to watch Tote. And when Belloc smashes the melon,
Toad's not really there, is he? That's like
he's
a
not
dummy,
there.
isn't it?
It's just a hat and a jacket. Right. Look. Or there, right
You
there.
know what?
Just a hat and a jacket.
Looks
Like what
real enough to me. He's hiding his face in shame. Okay.
Like what is he's there? He's obviously there for the shot. For this is a great gag. I love this gag. I made a movie myself. I made an adventure movie when I was in my 20s, a really low budget movie, and I did this same gag with the hugging, where the hero and the heroine get together at the end, and she comes and runs up at the hero and just gives him a big squeeze, and he does the whole glide. Like, he starts wincing because he got his ass kicked during the last act. But I think it's such a, and I think that I think it's great that happens to him here, and then 2 minutes later he's still getting pummeled with the mirror. It's just he never gets a break.
Did you read the Marvel comic book, Eric, back in the day?
Yeah. I had that, and I had Dark Horse's series of comic books that came out.
Were those any good?
Yeah, they were.
They were?
Yeah, but I had Marvels, and I had the Marvel had the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So I collected some of those. But then I had the Dark Horse ones, and they were a lot of fun.
I remember the Marvel one. They brought back Captain Katana for an issue, and they brought back Short Round one time, and yeah.
There's a lot of great stories in those comics, and I mean, you can mine a lot of great stuff. Like I said, make animated series out of those comic books. I'm in. I am in.
A British tar is a soaring soul. Is that like a classic war song?
It's Gilbert and Sullivan.
Oh, there you go. Never mind. What do I know? Okay. We'll do a rewatch of Topsy Turvy. Okay.
So I guess Marion's just like the perfect size for dresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is still one of the funniest things I have ever seen. Ever.
Oh!
His face in the mirror. He's just like, it's like, what else could happen?
You're a kid and you see that. I was like, oh no.
But it's like, it is this, it's Temple of Doom. He just gets beat up. And that's what I like about those two movies. He's human. He still wins, but he pays the price. And I mean, you don't get that really in Last Crusade. And you obviously don't get it in the fourth one. It's all just goofy comedy and
Shia LaBeouf.
And Shia LaBeouf.
Who was it? Transformers.
Marion's theme is absolutely beautiful.
I always got this in the Han and Leia's theme confused when I was a kid. I'd start singing one and then start singing the other one. They both start out the same way.
Now, wasn't Tom Selleck originally up for this role? I couldn't see him. I don't know.
He was signed up.
Would have been a completely different movie, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Would he have had the mustache?
He auditioned with it.
Wow. Okay.
And the thing is, he could have done it because I think after he said no, was there a writer's strike or something along those lines? So Magnum was pushed back, so he could have done Raiders Lost Ark.
Oh, conflict with the show. Okay.
Yeah. So he was signed for Magnum.
That was a huge television show at the time too.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, he had a great career because of that. Yeah. But I think, what I would love to have happened in Indy 5 was Tom Selleck to have a starring role in it as Indy's adversary.
Yeah, he'll be the bad guy. That would be interesting.
That would have been good.
Really? Could have Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly's adversary in some movie too.
Yeah. I love the German music here. I just think it's so great.
It's a U-boat, right?
Yep.
Oh, I was watching what was it? What was that name of that movie? Tom Hanks. Greyhound. Oh, yikes, that's terrifying. They apparently would hunt in packs. Have you seen Greyhound yet, Eric?
No, I haven't, and I want to.
It's good. It's unfortunately it's exclusive to Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I had that for a year, and I never bothered to watch it.
It's hard for me. I finally got it back up again because they released Foundation on it. But what was it though? But it's a good movie. I hope it deserves a theatrical release. Actually, if you have a chance to see it on the big screen, I would advise it because it's a tight 90 minutes. I think if it had been more, it would overstate its welcome. But I think you don't typically see like ocean warfare in a lot of these World War II movies, so it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, like U-571, as much as it was just a historical joke, it was probably one of the most intense movies I've seen in the theater. The sound design was incredible.
Right.
That was a pretty solid flick.
Yeah. I saw Das Boot.
Yeah, that's great too.
Oh, he's hiding. Oh. At this point, I almost wonder if Belloc saw him there for a sec, but no, he didn't. It's poor Kataga. He's trying to bargain. Leave us the girl. Come on. Oh, okay, sure. He was at least trying to save Marion, right? You know.
Yeah, he was. You know? Yep. Yeah. He's loyal. Yeah, coming up is one of my two favorite renditions of Indiana Jones' theme. So when he's up on the submarine and just the LSO's blasting away. The other one is where Harrison Ford swings his way into the mine car in Temple of Doom. Incredible moment. But this one gives me goosebumps.
You got to give Indiana Jones some props. He swam across to get, you know. I like it. They all salute him.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Wilson brings up that Spielberg was pushing Lucas to use Harrison Ford. And that's true. And George Lucas did not want to use Harrison Ford.
No. But it was, because he always wanted to use somebody new, right? I mean, Harrison Ford was established as Han Solo, but it was because of Empire Strikes Back that Spielberg's like, well, there's our Indiana Jones.
There's Indiana Jones right there. Yeah.
I get where Lucas was coming from. You probably think, oh, it confused the audience. We don't want to use the same actor we had as Han. But no, it works perfectly. It was perfect casting. But yeah. I don't think there's any other actor I could have seen as Indiana Jones at that time.
Sir Ian, I think you're a fan of 1941. And if so, let me know, and we will have you on when we do 1941. Because I think that's got a wonderful John Williams score.
Oh, yeah. It is a wild movie. There's stuff that's cringy about it, but then there are some hilarious jokes. And great miniature work. That whole Hollywood Boulevard where Wild Bill's flying through. It's like, what is this? It's so good. But Yeah, or when, like my favorite gag of that one is when he lands at the beginning of the movie. We first see Wild Bill, and he has to land get some gas at the gas station. But he turns around and just blows up the gas station as he takes off. I was like, what is this? Yeah, it's a weird movie. But I mean, if it wasn't, and I've said this before, if it wasn't for Raiders of the Lost Ark and George Lucas, Spielberg would not have a career, because he was done after 1941. All the movies that he'd worked on, Jaws, well, not Sugarland, but I think it was Jaws, Close Encounters, and 1941 were over budget and over schedule. And he just got lucky, really lucky on Jaws and Close Encounters, but then it finally bit him in the ass in 1941. And it was George Lucas who essentially said, you're going to shoot this in a certain amount of days with this budget, and we're not going to do millions of takes. We're going to do about 2-3 tops, and then we're going to move on. And Spielberg definitely credits George Lucas for keeping his, reviving his career.
Mm-hmm.
See, Spielberg did this, and he did E.T.
Yeah, he would go on to E.T., write and ghost direct Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Then get in a bit of trouble with Twilight Zone, the movie, because that was a fiasco. Like, it got everybody in trouble for that one.
Then he was
and then it was Temple of
the
Doom.
Goonies and Gremlins. He did Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Then what? The Color Purple.
Yeah, he did Color Purple after Temple. He was also doing Amazing Stories. So he directed 2 episodes of Amazing Stories, and The Mission is actually really, really, really good. That's probably the best episode of the whole anthology. But yeah, see, he went to Color Purple. I don't think he was mature enough to do that.
Right.
But then Empire of the Sun, that's where he really found his dramatic chops. That is one of his great movies. Like one of the great
nice
epics.
to meet someone who agrees with me. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a misunderstood film.
I've never attacked it.
Oh, no, but we've never talked about it either.
Right. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's funny they were mentioning you really want to open it up in Berlin in front of the Fuhrer, and I'm thinking, yeah, because maybe the war won't happen.
Yes, we do.
It's like, so I guess the next Spielberg movie is West Side Story, right? That's the next one coming up.
Yeah, it might be the only one I never watch.
Really?
I don't like West Side Story, and I'm not a big fan of musicals, and I really hate the look of this film. I hate Janusz. Janusz Kaminski, I have a love-hate relationship with him because he's shot some incredible movies, but he's made a whole bunch of other Spielberg films just look dreadful. And but I'm not a fan of West Side Story. Gang snapping and dancing during a fight at the beginning is just not my cup of tea. And I mean, the music's great. Sorry?
They don't sing and dance when they fight with knives in Canada like they do here in America?
We just do it with hockey sticks.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just, I saw it many years ago and I was like, what is this? I can't take this seriously. But the music is amazing. It's just, I just wish somebody like Spielberg does not have to remake movies. I just wish he was doing his own stuff. I mean, I'll give him War of the Worlds, and I thought he did a great job with that. And apparently he's changing a lot of how West Side Story is told and from whose point of view. But musicals are just not my thing. I do have a few musicals that I really do like. Like 2 of them are animated. South Park and Nightmare Before Christmas. And Singing in the Rain still remains like one of my most beloved movies, but I never understood musicals on film. Never got it. Yeah, always, you're right. It was a remake.
I will stand behind Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, though. That was a childhood favorite of mine, but okay. But this scene, it looks like Belloc's appealing to Dr. Jones, archaeologist, right?
Oh yeah, yep. And Indy knows he's right.
Back to West Side Story. This is the first Spielberg film I've been excited for, and I don't know when though.
Really?
I saw the trailer and I'm like, it looks like Spielberg's on point. And I don't remember the last time I saw a trailer and I said, that's Spielberg.
I just wish you would do an
I'm
original.
hoping it doesn't let me down.
I would love an original musical. That's the thing. I want something new, and that's what I appreciate. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of La La Land, but it was original. It was an original musical, and stuff like Chicago didn't interest me, or Les Mis, all that sort of stuff. It's like that's already been done. Like I want to see a classic, old school, golden age, new musical then. Done in Spielberg style, but I mean, remaking West Side Story. Why would you even think of doing that?
He has always wanted to do a musical. Hook was almost a musical,
right? Yeah. I just wish he had something original to work with.
Yeah.
All right, here comes the big moment. Scarred me as a child. Okay, it's like don't show your 5-year-old this scene. Okay. Or was I 4? I don't know. It's all sand.
And at this point, you're like, what is happening? Like, where are we going from here?
Get out of Dodge.
And I love reading the comment sections on YouTube when someone just posts this piece of music. It's like, so many minutes, so many seconds. You're having a bad day. And then so like when you realize you made a mistake.
It's just too bad that this scene got hacked up after the music was written, because you definitely hear all the really bad edits in this sequence. The music doesn't flow properly, and there was stuff shot, but it was just apparently too long, and he just wanted to get to the nitty gritty of it because there's a whole pre-ceremony sequence here.
It'd be great.
I'd like to see
that.
Yeah, I would love to see what Williams scored. Yes.
Now, I keep wondering, what are we seeing here? Are these the ghosts of the Israelites? Are these angels? What are they? This is
like the protectors of the Ark?
Yeah, so they're angels of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's it's beautiful.
Here we go.
Yeah, don't look.
And Erik, are we ever going to get the complete Indiana Jones scores on CD?
I will say yes.
Okay.
And the reason, 2 words, Mike Matessino.
I hope so. I'm pretty sure. I really do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's very close with John Williams. So I think that eventually we will get them. That in Star Wars.
I bought was it a Concorde box set that came out a couple of years back?
Yeah. That was so
I was
sloppy.
I was so Hulk angry when I listened to it. I'm like, where's my bridge music from Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
Well, why did you chop this piece up? Just let the whole thing run for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was Laurent Bourreau, Spielberg's documentarian who does all the behind the scenes stuff for Spielberg. So apparently he thought he was a CD producer. So if you listen to the 20th anniversary of Jaws, that sounds absolutely dreadful. Close Encounters he did. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And then for some reason he was in charge of doing Indiana Jones. And it was again, compare to what DCC did with Raiders and then compare it with the Concorde release. It was just so rushed and no care whatsoever. Although, having said that, I'm glad I have expanded editions of Temple
Doom,
and Last Crusade. But Raiders,
and the exact same issue of Crystal Skull that came out.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right.
Same. Thank you for that.
Yeah. but it was just such a bizarre release that it reminded me of that, hastily put together Phantom Menace blue disc 2 CD set that came out. That was supposed to be the complete score, which was the isolated score. And it was like, what? You guys don't understand what you're doing. So that's why I have all the faith in the world that Mattasino's going to do it right. But it's hope. Again, but you have to find those elements. I mean, when they did the Star Wars Arista set, they were dealing with some of the worst elements. Like they were cutting 4 or 5 different elements for like one cue, and even like film reels and different dubs. So I mean, it's just making sure that material is available. But I mean, Sean Murphy did a good job of cleaning up Last Crusade for that Concord release. It sounds better than what it did originally, but yeah, there's a lot left to be desired.
Chris Wilson brings the point that Belloc's exploding face was edited without the flames, but it got him an R-rated, so they throw in some fire, you get PG.
Yeah.
Well, but, I don't know.
But melting faces are okay.
Yeah.
Freaked out as a kid. I did not want
to I don't know. There's a guy on YouTube. His name's Ray Stantz, and his icon is the Ghostbuster dude, Ray Stantz. And he's been working on like Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, and Star Wars. He's getting the actual film edit of the score where you can listen to it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What else is in this warehouse? I'm sorry.
God knows what. Well, we know that there's going to be an alien.
Oh, yeah. Stupid.
And there also are windows on the floors in this building. Like they literally crashed through a window on the floor.
So dumb.
Like what? Oh, and there's test rockets in the basement. The great matte painting though. It's about as perfect as a movie as you're ever going to watch.
Yeah.
We'll probably get re-releases of the soundtracks when they release the next Indiana Jones movie, probably, right? Would that probably be the time?
Well, everybody thought, that's what happened with number 4. So, I mean, it depends on who's handling it. So it's Disney. So they deal sometimes with Entrada, but would they do it on their own? A lot of people were worried about that because they've messed up their own releases. Like apparently that Hunchback release, which I haven't heard yet, is just an absolute mess. Their Legacy Collection release. So, but I would love it if they have the elements and they do it right. And I mean, Mattasino has access to Williams, and you get the right liner notes and the right presentation. Like if you get Jim Titus to do all the artwork, but that won't happen because Disney, if they're doing it their own way, they'll have somebody else do the art. So it won't look as good as, releases like Dracula, which looks beautiful on Varese, or Hook or Always. But I know there's a new edition of Hook coming out for sure.
What? When?
Oh, yeah. When? Soon. I think it was supposed to come out like in the past couple of years, but COVID just killed it. But the first release by La La Land Records was an absolute disaster. They used wrong elements. They were using film stems, and it just sounded dreadful. I paid
a crap ton of money for that release. I'll have you know.
Oh, okay. Well, they're going to redo it because I mean, for we as fans who have had proper elements of that score in crystal clear, unedited sound, and then when La La Land came out with it, we're like, okay, great. We can just chuck this music. And thank goodness we held on to it because there's plenty of stuff that's missing and it's all film edits. Like for instance, when Hook finally dies and the crocodile clock kills him. So on the soundtrack, it just ends, but that's a false ending. It's manufactured in the film. For 90 seconds, there's more music after that. Big victorious fanfares and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, why isn't this on here? And on the La La Land release as well, there's loops. So there were looped music, repeated cues or repeated sections of cues. Like even on the Ultimate War, the opening of the Ultimate War, there's repeated sections. I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. You had the CD that was unedited. Why would you use the film stem here? So that was just a colossal mistake. And I think it was the last time that they dealt with the engineer who worked on it. And then everything went through Mike Mendocino. After that, it was like, we're going to have one guy do all of John Williams' stuff. And so that's Mendocino's job now. Just taking care of it and doing those definitive releases.
How do you rate the Indiana Jones girls? Snyder, number one, Marion, Elsa Snyder, and Willie Scott. I have to say, for me, for a long time, it's been Willie, but as number one, which I know would drive everybody else nuts but I know she's kind of high maintenance, but I kind of liked her. But I don't know. I've warmed to Marion over the years too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think mine would be Marion, Willie, Elsa, but they're all like 1A, 1B, 1C, where they all have different characteristics, and that's what I like about it. They're all very different. The women in these movies are like Marion's tough, and Willie's the classic damsel in distress, and Kate Capshaw plays her brilliantly. But then you get Elsa Schneider, and you don't know whose side she's on, and I love that. So I like them all somewhat equally for how they are handled differently in each of their movies.
I'm Team Marion. That's about it. Elsa's okay. Willie's fine for Temple of Doom. I think he needed
Willie.
Okay.
Team
Captain America.
Singer.
No, you're Team Iron Man. That's right.
I'm Team Iron Man. What are you bringing? I'm not Team Captain America. I'm not on the loser team in that sense. Okay, I'm not. I'm sorry. No. I've already argued this before. I'm not bringing it up again. Losers and criminals on Captain America's side. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay? Except for Falcon. He didn't make any sense. He should have been Iron Man's side. Everybody else, just no. Ant-Man. Let's see. He had Ant-Man. He had Hawkeye. He had. And I'm not getting into it here, but that's a Marvel cast. We'll do that.
Whatever side Ant-Man's on, I'll cheer for them.
So, what was your favorite? What was your last Spielberg movie you saw that you liked? Did you like Ready Player One?
Oh, I loved Ready Player One.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. And it was so great. I was able to take my kids to see it. But again, not knowing, like, here's the thing. At that time, my daughter was just scared of everything. So when we saw Last Jedi, I think, was Last Jedi, they had the trailer for The Quiet Place.
Oh, yeah.
For it. And I'm like, oh, no. My daughter is scared of everything. So we saw Ready Player One. And then we get to that sequence, and I'm like, wait a minute. Are they going into The Shining? No. And I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, do you know what's about to come up? She's like, no. I'm like, blood's coming out of those elevators. She's like, what? And so we're like, we're trying to shield my daughter. But I loved Ready Player One. I thought that was so much fun. Like Bridge of Spies, I think is for all of its flaws in the way that it looks, I think it's a fantastic movie. I mean, I like a lot of what he's done. I'm really disappointed at the look of some of his films. So, I mean, just constantly working with Janusz Kaminski, I hate the way he lights things. I don't like it at all. But I mean, the last thing that I absolutely hated, and I think is one of the worst things he's ever done, is the BFG. I think that is a pile of crap. It's terrible. I haven't
seen that yet.
It's if you think about what ET could have been, and if they just aimed that towards kids, that's kind of what happened with the BFG. It's all childish jokes. There's nothing in it for adults. It is boring. And so it's absolutely the opposite of what ET is, even though it was written by the same person. But like the underrated movies, I think, are The Adventures of Tintin. It's a great adventure film. And it's kind of, it's more in tone with, like, Crystal Skull is a good Tintin movie. And that's what I think that's the tone that you get for Tintin. And it works perfectly for Tintin, but it doesn't work for Indiana Jones. But if I had to go back, yeah, BFG was like the last thing I absolutely hated. And then before that, maybe Hook. But everything else, I was just like, yep, Spielberg. I love it. I love it all. But there's like I talking about Kaminsky. I mean, I like what he did on Schindler's List. I think it's brilliant. I love what he did on Saving Private Ryan. I think the look of Minority Report is perfect. But I just recently watched AI and it's ugly. Amistad actually looks not that bad. And same with The Lost World. It just seems natural. But a lot of the way that they've color corrected movies now and the way they shine a lot of light at the lens. Like there's one scene in Bridge of Spies where they're in the interrogation room. And for some reason there's a semi-transparent window on one side, and Tom Hanks is giving this speech sort of towards camera with Mark Rylance sitting down at the desk. And the room is just flooded with this giant light. And it is just absorbing Tom Hanks and the whole entire room. And I'm like, why? Why does it look this way? And it's totally desaturated. There's hardly any colors. And this is such a weird thing that Janusz Kaminski does. And I yet to see just a natural looking movie from him. And he was supposed to do that for Crystal Skull. They were supposed to pay tribute to Douglas Slocum and have that kind of nice saturated Technicolor look that we get in Raiders, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade. But in post-production, Kaminski said, well, we're going to do that, but what we're also going to do is we're going to strip away some of the colors. We're going to add some pastels and make it look a little bit more gritty because, it's the 1950s, so it has to look different. And I'm like, no, please stop doing this. Please. Because Crystal Skull's a damn ugly movie, although they completely regraded it for the 4K release. It looks better.
Okay.
But the grading, the original grading is gone. Everything looks a little bit more natural and doesn't have these ugly.
Interesting.
Oh, it's disgusting. The movie
I've heard when they regrade films, sometimes people scream bloody murder. Like I know that the French Connection is, I think, notorious for its Blu-ray release. Like people were fuming over what Friedkin did to that.
But like it's just disappointing that some of these great movies just kind of look really terrible. Because I rewatched AI again, talking about misunderstood movies. I think AI is one of them as well. I keep watching that and I'm discovering new things all the time with that film. And I hated it when I first saw it, but now it's turning out to be just like one of those ones where you just go back. It's almost like watching Blade Runner. You kind of pick something else up every time you watch it.
Here's the problem: you're waiting for the proper cut of AI. That's what you want, the Kubrick cut, not the Spielberg cut. Is that right?
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody thinks that what Spielberg did at the end is a Spielberg thing, but that's how Kubrick was going to end his movie too.
Right.
But what I do want to see, I want to see a Kubrick shot AI film. Kubrick has a definite style, an incredible style. I love the way he shoots his movies. And I would love to have seen AI shot that way. I mean, but there's some great stuff in AI. I mean, Spielberg does some really incredible work. But yeah, Kubrick's version would have been very fascinating, but I'm not sure how audiences would have stomached that ending because that was Kubrick's original ending. And it just doesn't seem very Kubrickian.
Right.
So,
Zootopia's question: are you looking forward to West Side Story? We talked about this like a half hour ago. I think it was.
Yeah.
It was. Daniel is. Eric, I don't think you're too excited. I have not seen a trailer for it, and I have no opinion about it right now. I do think it's interesting. It's probably one of the last movies left over from the late great 20th Century Fox that's getting released through Disney. Before they got they got absorbed. I was going to say destroyed, but
yeah,
I'll be kind for the stream. Anyway, people complain a bit in our community about things Disney do, but the thing that got me angry was I actually did love 20th Century Fox. I thought they weren't perfect; they would mess up, but they also took a lot of risks on movies, which I liked, and now they're really no longer with us. So I do kind of mourn that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really mourn the whole incorporating all these, like sucking in all these studios and making them into one. Like Disney just eating up everything is just, I don't think it's good for movies
And the
at
more they
all.
do it, the less they feel like Disney. Like Disney used to have its
That's
own
right.
unique feel, but now
Yes,
when it absorbs all these properties, it's just not even feeling like Disney anymore. It's
that's
like it's
right.
just it's so we'll see what happens. But Spielberg, yeah, I don't know what he has planned after West Side Story. Oh,
Oh, he's
they're
doing,
doing that movie about his own life. Yes, a
that's right.
biopic. Yes,
Yeah, which is fascinating. I
yeah.
think
So
that'll be great.
that might be interesting to see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'm interested in that, and hopefully, Williams is around to work on that one because he didn't work on West Side Story, so which is too bad.
Well, if not, they could always get Hans Zimmer, right, Daniel?
Oh man.
You know.
Well, hey, you know what? Spielberg handpicked Zimmer to run DreamWorks music when that was established. So one of
That's
these
different
days,
from
Zimmer.
scoring films, though.
Yeah, but Zimmer was in charge of. It was sort of like an old school way of assigning projects to DreamWorks films. You know what I mean? So like Hans
Yeah.
Zimmer was basically like, "All right, you're going to score this, or I'm going to score this." But I mean, I think when Williams can't do it anymore, I think it'll be fascinating to see who Spielberg eventually goes and works with. And I'm just glad that we got a Thomas Newman score out of it.
I'm thinking he's going to settle with Thomas Newman.
Yeah. But I mean, Sylvester did a great job for Ready Player One. I think just running through all of them, like if he can get like, I'm not wishing for Williams's death, but I mean, when that happens, if Bruce Broughton's around, maybe he could work with him again. Guys that he worked with in the past that he might not have got a chance to work with, and I think that would be fascinating. Bring Broughton out of retirement and have him score a big movie again.
I've never listened to a film score of his that I have not liked.
Yeah, I agree.
But for some reason, I don't think I'm a collector of his, but I feel like I need to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that he did. There's a great score you got to listen to. It's called The Ballad of Lucy Whipple. Broughton's so good with Westerns, and that's one of his better ones. It was I don't think it was a Hallmark TV movie, but it was another TV movie. But I did, well, yeah, if you are listening to my show, I did a Bruce Broughton Western show, which you might want to listen to. I think I featured about 6 or 7 his Westerns on there. But that guy's so good, so sophisticated, an incredible composer. And I'm glad he got to score a lot of Amblin productions in the 80s when he got a chance to.
Huh.
And I mean, his pilot score for the Orville's great. Texas Rising, I think he's scored with John Debney.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it's all just great Broughton music. He's so good, and he's concentrating on a lot of concert stuff right now. So he's and I got an interview with him coming up this month. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, Jason did an interview with him, so he did a 2-part interview. So that should be fascinating. Yeah, really nice guy, loves talking. But yeah, check out, like, if you listen to Lost in Space.
Yeah,
Broughton's Lost in Space.
Yeah,
But like his later career, smaller TV scores are really good. So you might want to check those
Mrs.
out.
King.
Sorry?
Scarecrow and Mrs. King. He did the theme song for that.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, yeah, like Tiny Toons Adventures is like my favorite TV theme with lyrics of all time. So
I remember that.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony.
Yeah, it's perfect. So, but yeah, Broughton, you're right. You can't go wrong with him, and he's scored just about anything and everything. So, yeah, I can't highly recommend him. And he's conducted some incredible re-recordings as well for Entrada.
I just got the Julius Caesar one last month.
Yeah.
Month before last. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, Ivanhoe, you got to give that one a go. I think they just remastered that one. I think. and that's a Symphony of London. It's a great recording. Yeah, I'm just going through the collection. Oh yeah, Boy Who Could Fly. It's perfect 80s nostalgia type score. Heart of Darkness, one of the very first orchestral video game scores ever written.
Huh.
Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, I think, is a film where he said that's the most notes he ever wrote for a film score. I hope one day Moonraker gets released. Not Moonraker, sorry, Moonwalker.
I was about to say, yeah.
Moonwalker. Yeah, the Michael Jackson project.
About to say, I have the Moonraker release. I have some bones with that release. It's missing one of the cues, which I found on another Bond CD, but it's not on the actual Moonraker soundtrack, which is when he meets all the space women in the Amazon jungle place. It was just anyway. Moonraker rewatch some toy. We'll have you on for the Moonraker. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and if you want to hear Broughton in Jerry Goldsmith mode, listen to Shadow Conspiracy. It's as if Goldsmith wrote it himself.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, like, where does Raiders rank on your like all-time great movies? Is it up there? Because it's one for me. It's number one for me forever and ever and ever.
Ever?
Is it? Oh yeah, it's the best thing. I'll watch it in any language, anytime, any place.
It's weird. I could pick number ones for a lot of things, but not with movies. Movies are tough. Because even with Spielberg, I mean, Raiders is great, but I also love Close Encounters. That's another one of my favorites of his. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, where would it rank with Spielberg movies then?
Number two, like probably.
Top? Yeah.
Number two. I might give it to Close Encounters first. That's just me. I don't know. I know maybe some people might differ. It's
a great movie. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. I do love Close Encounters. How about you, Daniel? What's your favorite Spielberg movie? Tell us.
Like deeply personal to me, or
personal?
Just like
if you had to,
personal. Not
you need to watch
greatest.
A Spielberg movie now. Pick one.
Any Indiana Jones film that I'm watching from the trilogy is my favorite.
Okay. I've heard some people say Crystal Skull is better than Temple of Doom.
A trilogy has 3, Boomer.
When that came out, they were like, I'm like, okay, how does it rank there? Well, it's certainly better than Doom. And I'm like, and I can think Doom is not a bad movie. It always gets attacked for some stupid reason.
I personally do not know anyone who hates Temple of Doom.
No, it's all the critics, all the.
I personally do not know any professional critics.
Anyway, but no, I really do like. I don't know. Schindler's List is pretty good too, though. Even though it's kind of it's an important movie. It's very beautifully shot.
I just, Schindler's List. I'm glad it was made. I'm glad I watched it. I think I've seen it twice. I'm good.
The Ray Fiennes performance in that is fantastic.
It's very good. Yeah. It's a fine piece of cinema. Maybe one of the best films ever made. But it's not. I was like, I'm home today. What am I going to do? I'll watch Schindler's List. No,
you're like Jerry Seinfeld in that episode of Seinfeld where they keep telling him to go see Schindler's List and he doesn't want to go see it.
It's a yearly visit for me. I watch it just because it is that good, but I'm going to be reviewing it on my show soon.
Cool.
And because I'm going to have a guest host on who has never seen it before. So I can't wait to hear his reaction and he's never heard the score either. And I'm like, what? You run a film music podcast you've never heard or watched Schindler's List? So it's going to be interesting, but and I'll talk about it on the show, but it's one of those movies that you can't put on a list. It's in a tier all of its own. It's that special, where it's not something you watch for entertainment, but you appreciate everything that went into that movie. And it's, I think, like one of those rare, perfect films, but it just feels like something else. Much like, I had this conversation recently with somebody else. It was like United 93. You don't watch that for the entertainment value, but there is something about that movie that it's something special. And it doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a documentary. And I think it's a film that needed to be made, much like Schindler's List needed to be made at that time. It was perfect timing. 93 was perfect for, I think, everybody, and even Spielberg himself. Like, he had done Empire of the Sun, and that's where you can see, like, okay, he can finally do a dramatic movie and do it properly, but he still needed to grow up a bit. But it's interesting to see that he did Jurassic Park before that and then moved on to Schindler's List. So that summer, he still had his blockbuster. But then again, Schindler's List turned out to be a blockbuster as well. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting year for him, because he was doing the one thing that he does so well, like entertain the audience. But then he had to completely remove himself from that in order to get Schindler's right. And so, yeah, I always consider that it's on a separate God tier of movies that you just put up there, and it's tough to dispute that, for me at least.
How about you, Daniel? Number one. Oh, you already said it, didn't you?
Yeah,
Any of the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Raiders, Temple, or Last Crusade.
What's your favorite movie? Period. What's your favorite movie? Period. Though. It's a hard one.
It would either be Empire Strikes Back, or Raiders, Temple of Doom, or Last Crusade, whichever one I'm watching.
Yeah, Empire is my number 2 as well.
I have to say, just in general movies, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead often gets played a lot. That's up there. The original from the 70s, but I don't know. I got to think on this some more. Like, there are movies I do come back to every now and then, and that's one of them. Okay, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's another one. Love that movie. Love all three of those Man with No Name trilogy movies, but that was my favorite of those. Okay. What are we doing next week? Are we doing anything next week?
It's October, right?
October, yes.
I thought October was Omen month.
It's Omen month. I'm just double checking. I know you might be out of town or something, but I did. Okay. So next week is the Omen. The original Richard Donner Omen from, what was it, 76?
Mm-hmm.
And with the Jerry Goldsmith score, which I have access to now thanks to a certain Birdman.
And I asked Lucas Kendall to come on the show, and he referred me to Jeff Bond, who never responded to my email.
That's too bad.
So, Erik, if you're free, you're welcome to come on.
I have to see what my next week is like. And I haven't seen The Omen in forever. You know, it's one I haven't seen. I haven't seen part 2.
We're gonna do part 2 as well.
And part 3 is hilarious.
We're gonna try to do all 4.
It's a comedy remake. Part 3.
When you watch it, you're like,
it don't sound like a comedy.
I'm not a fan of part 3. I got to be blunt.
No.
I like the casting. Sam Neill, perfect casting for adult Damien.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with him. It just they dropped the ball. We'll get to it when we get to it.
It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. I have never seen 4, and I totally forgot there was a 4.
You know what's funny? I got the Shout Factory, the Scream Factory release, and it has part 4, which was some made-for-TV movie. And I'm like, well, you got rid of. I don't want to spoil it for Daniel because I don't think he's seen them. But there's nothing to do in part 4.
We're skipping 4, but we are doing the remake with.
This is like whatever happened to Rosemary's Baby. You know, it's like, come on. It's like, what?
There is a remake. You're right.
Yeah, a remake, yes. Which we'll get to. If we, I don't. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll do the remake. I know you had an interest because you wanted to compare scores, correct?
Yeah, because Marco Beltrami did the remake, and he was a student of Goldsmith, so that's kind of
interesting.
It's not even close, but there's a great action track in that score that is really fantastic. But they're polar opposites.
I haven't listened to it yet. I've got the 3 Goldsmith ones. I like all of them. I feel bad for saying that, but
the remake is a tough one to cover because it's basically the same movie. But anyway, except it doesn't have Gregory Peck, but you do get Liev Schreiber, who's good too, I think. But I don't know. It's
shouldn't have been done.
Yeah, it should have been done. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what did Siskel say once? He said they should just stop remaking good movies
Start remaking
and remake the bad ones. And I'm like, well, of course. That's the way you go about. You're like, that movie sucked. Let's try it again. I guess they did that with Suicide Squad, and they keep on failing with that.
Once in a blue moon, you get a remake of a bad movie that was successful in the box office. Like Amityville Horror got remade. That's with Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George was in that, and it's still bad, but in a different way, you know. But I was curious about that one. I don't know. I have a soft spot for the Amityville Horror, but I know it's trash.
Yeah, I like the original.
There are problems with like was it James Brolin? I think was in that with his. He said he couldn't get work for 2 years after that part. He said
no kidding.
He thinks he played it too intensely, like he came off too evil or something. So.
Oh my!
Leading man parts were hard. Eventually, he got through. Of course, it was also his most successful movie up until that point. So, but yeah, he said he didn't work for a year after that.
Wow. Yeah, I saw it a long time ago. I don't
it's
remember.
Creepy. It's creepy.
It is definitely creepy.
You doing anything on your podcast for Halloween or anything like that?
I haven't even thought about it, but I do have a horror music show hosted by somebody else.
Oh, okay,
so he's
cool.
continuing with his Stephen King theme. So he's done 3 shows. So that goes up this month. But as for I might do something, but I think I've played every single like Halloween album that I have since 2010, and I'm just like, what's new? Like what's my theme? So maybe I'll do like more obscure or unreleased horror scores. Like I have some interesting Chris Young promos that he sent my way a long time ago. So
cool.
You know, scores that have never come out, like Urban Legend. It's just a really good score. It's really good. But yeah, that was like I only saw the trailer. Like, this is a Scream knockoff, isn't it? Oh yeah, they were absolutely. All those movies back then were Scream knockoffs. And it wasn't very good, but the score is great. And I think there's a cue called Sexual Acts. And I'm like, what? But it is the big axe scene in it. But
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but that's what he called it. So I got a bunch of like stuff that I know that hasn't been commercially released that was sent to me by composers, and I might go through and mine the catalog doing that. So
cool.
That might be interesting. But yeah, there's a lot going on. There's so much going on. Trying to keep track of it all. It's insane. So
cool.
Yep.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Any excuse to watch Raiders. Yeah.
I understand.
Oh yeah. Good times.
Everyone, thank you for the last year. It's been fun. Looking forward to this year. Thank you, Boomer, for being with me every week.
Sure thing.
Except that 1 week that you weren't.
I was on vacation. You had Big Al, then the movie wouldn't play or something, right?
That's right.
Oh,
everyone remember, adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film scores. And Omen month starts next week. Maybe we'll have a guest. We'll find out. Thank you, everyone.